你要有个代表个了，放大个呢，我那个吃饭这个，给我婆婆也婆了，แล้ว我地到我的放大，放大的米多嘛，แล้วก็เพลิน代表嘛，ว่า代表个คนเนาะก็代表个嘛。
In 1922, a 15-year-old boy shows up for his first day at work at a
เดี๋ยวเราเลือกตัวทุกคุยกันยามันก่อนแล้วทุกคุยยาจะชี้ขวดมาเนาะว่าได้นี่เนี่ยความมาเลยว่า代表ว่านะมัน
in 1922,
แล้วตัวทุกคุยกันยาคีซีคีเนี่ยว่าได้ว่าพอเขาเรื่องอะไรว่าได้ชี้เย็นนี่เนี่ยอามาว่าเลยมาตั้งมาเนี่ยเรา代表ว่า
a 15-year-old boy shows up for his first day at work at a small auto repair shop in Tokyo, Japan.
ว่าเลยเขามาเลยมาว่าตั้งมาเลิศโตเกียวแล้วจะแพ้วิคุมเลยโตเกียวนะมั้งโตเกียวเนี่ยพอเขาเรื่องว่าชี้เย็นนี่代表ว่า
The owner, who questioned if the boy was even meant for this type of
เนี่ยพอแล้วเกี่ยวกับเขามาวันละมาแล้วว่าบอกการล้อลุ่มเขามาแล้วว่าบอกการเขามาแต่ทีมาแต่ทีบอกการจ่ายก็แล้วแต่บอกการอะไรก็มาได้มาค่าที่กระว่าตาบ้ามาได้ยัง
business, assigned him to clean the workshop and
เขามาเนี่ยเลิกดูบอลโลว่าการก็เนี่ยว่ามามาเซ็กชอได้ตามมาล้อมาแล้ว
look after his child
เนี่ยเลิกกับบอลว่าการแล้วเนี่ยมาว่าตากวนเนี่ยพูดมาแล้ว
instead. At the time, nobody thought much of it, neither did they care, but only because they had no idea who this kid would eventually become. Fast forward a few decades, and that boy, Soichiro Honda, was now competing with some of the biggest car brands in the world, while also owning
เอาวันนี้เขามาเนี่ยว่าชั่วโมงน้องอะไรปะล่ะไม่ได้เนี่ยแกเราแต่ที่ผ่านโดนเราตีเราว่าฮอนด้ามาหมอวันนี้ว่าตาบอกคนมีเลยชูซีโดฮอนด้ามาเนาะวันนี้คนหนึ่งตึงที่การฮอนด้าเนี่ยมีอะไรจะปาระมีมาบอกคนชูซีโดฮอนด้าเนี่ยว่าที่นี่ว่ามีลักกี้ตัวนั้นมีละฮอนด้ามาเนาะ
the largest motorbike manufacturer.
แล้ววันนี้ไม่ยากเนี่ยว่าตีว่าการกับว่าตีเราว่ามอเตอร์ไซค์แล้วเขาคลาดดอมิลามีดุกเตอร์แล้วตัดตัวอาร์กเตอร์แล้วพอพิวลักเตอร์มาฮอนด้าวันนี้เขาคลาดดอมิเนี่ยมอเตอร์ไซค์มาเนาะ
This is the story of how one poor Japanese boy went from babysitting children to building the multi-billion-dollar brand.
เอาว่าแต่ว่าพอพ่อยาพ่อละประมาณนี้เล็กที่ตัวนี้เกิดอะไรพอละกันแล้วตีเราประมาณนี้เกิดแค่ทอดจิ้วละก็กล้วยพักก็กล้วยหมดเลยว่า
Honda Motors.
แต่ว่าบ้าตาลูดูท่าเลยว่าพ่อยาพ่อละมั้ง race and property
The story begins in 1906.
เอาว่าเนี่ยแล้วทุกคุยยาคุยเนี่ยว่าเนี่ยประมาณนั้นว่าเรื่องกลุ่มเนี่ยสาระแก่แต่เป็นมาประมาณตาสิวแต่ส่วนมันเนาะปูนี่ให้แก่แต่เป็นเนี่ยเดี๋ยวว่า
In a small, poverty-ridden village called
เอาวันนี้เลิกวิจิตรว่าเพื่อนเราวิเลว่าพ่อยาพ่อละก็เลย10 รูกุมมา10รูอยู่อ่ะ
Henryu Shizuoka,
เอาวันนี้ว่าสิช่วยกันมาเนาะว่าตัวเนี่ยมีมั้งว่าตัวชิพ่อตัวแล้วว่าพ่อยาพ่อมาเนาะ
the foot of Mount Fuji.
เอาวันนี้บอกว่าเราไม่ฟูจิว่าก็เจอมาเนาะก็เจอไม่รู้แล้วเนี่ย
It was there that Gihei Honda and his wife welcomed their first son, Soichiro Honda.
เอาวันนี้พ่อว่าแกเขามาแต่ว่าดับเบิลเด็กมีเลยโชว์ซีโร่ฮอนด้ามาเนาะ
Soichiro's father was a local blacksmith from the
เอาวันนี้ป้าเนี่ยแกว่าเลยว่าได้เลยตัวบุญเนี่ยแกว่าพ่อแค่นะแต่เลยโชว์ซีโร่ฮอนด้าเนี่ยป้าเนี่ยแกว่าพ่อแค่
village, who also fixed bicycles on the side, while
แต่
his
ว่าพ่อแค่ยี่วันนั้นเนี่ยว่าได้ลี้ย่อยมา
mother was an accomplished weaver.
มัวรุ่นเนี่ยแกว่าท่าด้านนะว่าท่าจิกุจิกา
Raised in difficult economic situations,
โอเพลดว่าเลยดูว่าเลยตาพ่อตายาแล้วมุกลัวกว่าตะกี้ว่า
Soichiro lost 5 of his siblings
เขามาเนี่ยเขาเลยดูว่าเลยว่าพ่อยาบักลาเนี่ยดับเบิลเนี่ยโอเพลดอะไรตีดับเบิลเนี่ยตีเยอะกันเนี่ย
growing up due to health issues.
เขาเลยตาโชว์เพลด
Soichiro was 8 years old. He was going about his normal routine in the neighborhood.
เอาว่าคนเนี่ยว่าเลยจะต่อเลยที่พวกเขาเวลากัน
He followed the sound until he came across a big piece of strange machinery.
เอาว่าเนี่ยว่าเลยหาเลยเขามาเลยหาเลยตัวบุญนะว่าได้เสียต่อผ่านดูดขนาดพวกเลยเราเลยกว่าจู่กันนะ
Pulling along on 4 wheels.
เดี๋ยวที่ว่าตาว่าเลยว่าเราข้อปลาลุยคอเรา
This machine was a Ford Model T.
เอาว่าเนี่ยต แต่ละตาก็ผัดโดไว้เนี่ยวันนั้นก็ได้ฟอร์มบอกว่าเนี่ยก็มาฟอร์มเนี่ยกว่าตีละอเมริกาวันเราโจ้แล้วเลิกจะปากก้อนมันเราเช้าเอง
And Soichiro was left captivated by what he had just witnessed.
ว่าที่เวลาคาริลาก็เดี๋ยวตีกันละคนนึงก็มีแต่คาริลาตัวสาวว่าละก็เดี๋ยวรอชอบว่าเขามาตีกันละคนนึงก็หมดแล้วกัน
It was the first car I saw. What a thrill! I could not understand how it could move under its
วันนี้แต่ว่าพวกที่การขายตอนนั้นเปิดว่าคนละบ้านริวยันมันแล้วก็จะเสร็จเอาละแล้ว
own power. And when it had driven past me, without even thinking why, I found myself chasing it down the road as hard as I could run.
คนนี้ถ้าใครที่ว่าจะเล่นมาวันนี้เลยรู้จักพี่อะไรการคนนี้กินเนี่ยเด็กเล็กบุ๋มเนาะวันนี้โชซีรฮันดาชั่วโมงเวลามาเนาะเดี๋ยวเวลา
This experience left a mark in his life that would forever change the way he would engage with machines.
เขาเราว่าที่ว่าตาวันโอติกาละคนนึงก็นะแต่ใครไม่รีดีเลยถ้าใครไม่เลดีเลยเนี่ยโอติกาละคนนึงก็นะวันนี้ถ้าเจ็บบุกกัน
He learned how to wet the blades of the farm machinery.
คนนี้สารละวันนี้ตัวสาวมันโลเวลาว่าเขาเลยเสพพอเขาละแต่ใครไม่รีจะเลยแต่ใครไม่เลยเราว่าสารวันนี้ถ้าเลยมาชกตัวกันเนี่ยมาเขาเลยมาเขามาว่าเล่นเนี่ยที่มาจีมาเขามาจีเนี่ยมาว่าเวลเสร็จเท่ตาเมตาคอร์เรนเอาไว้สารมาโลเวลาว่าเขาเลยเสพพอเขาละปั๊ม
Repair bicycles.
แล้วว่าบอลเลยจ้ะ
He was fascinated by all kinds of engines and motors.
วันนี้แต่ข้าเนี่ยว่าตู้ชุดตัดชุดลงมาเนี่ยมาเขาเลยเสพพอเขาเนี่ย
But Soichiro hated the idea of going to school.
เพราะว่านักเรียนเลยถ้าเลยโจรดูมือวันเนี่ยเราว่าถ้าโจรมือว่า
Instead of pursuing a proper education, he spent the majority of his
เขามาแล้วว่าเลยถ้าเลยโจก็เนี่ยว่ามาโลละครอบเลยแต่เลยครอบโลนะเขามาบัวนี่ว่าเลยจ่อบัวนี่มันได้ดูว่าไร
childhood helping his father with his bicycle repair business.
เอาวันนั้นเลยที่เดิมมาเจอแล้วป้าเลยถ้าโจซาเดิมมาเจอป้าบัวเราว่าได้มันได้ดู
His lack of interest in school affected his grades so terribly that
ว่าครอบเลยถ้าโจรมือว่าเขาดูว่ามาได้ดูน่าเจ็บว่ามาเล่น
he used some rubber that he found to forge his family's stamp on his grade reports. That way, his father wouldn't need to sign the paper and see his grades. Eventually, he got caught, and his
แล้วความมันเนี่ยว่ามาตะกี้ว่าเขาเราว่าอ้อคือว่าเนี่ยความมันอ้อคือว่าเราดูเลยมาความมันเนี่ยที่ตอนแรกอามาก็คือว่าเก็บยาโมกับปาร์บุว่ามาตะกี้ว่าเล็กที่เราเรียกมาว่าบลาเราเรียกชาติว่าติ่งยาเคล็ดนั่นนะ
father punished him by making him kneel on his knees for
ความมันเนี่ยเล็กเราปาติ่งยาเรียกชาติเราปาความมันเนี่ยปาโต้ข้อเลยเอาไว้ได้
for an entire day
เอาไว้
without lunch.
เอาไว้ชินแล้วเขาเรียกคนเนี่ยนอนนี่แหละนะ
In 1922,
เพื่อที่ตัวคุยเนี่ยด้วย
Soichiro came across a magazine ad for a Tokyo-based automobile service.
โอ้ว่าคุยเนี่ยว่าที่ว่าแล้วก็ว่าลี่ว่าตากสอบบุญมั้งลี่ตากสอนให้เราเนี่ยแต่ว่าเราว่าบัวการลอดขนาดโลว่าพารากันเล็กตกี้บุญ
Servicing company called Art Shokai.
เอาวันนี้ตาบัวการลอดก็ว่าอาชุกขาน
He reasoned that since the company was one of the most popular motor car services in the city, they might be in need of new workers.
เอาคนเนี่ยที่เอาวันนี้ตาบัวการลอดขนาดดูบ้านโลว่าบัตรมาพอได้ก็มาเลยแต่ละการเป็นยังขนาดว่าสารพัดอยู่หลายเรื่องว่าดูว่าอาคนเนี่ยชม
So he wrote a letter to Art Shokai,
เอาวันนี้กวยว่าเลิกคำนี้มีแล้วอาชุกขานว่ากวยว่าลีเลิกคำนี้พลานอ่อน
inquiring about a job, and luckily
เอาคำมันเนี่ยว่าดอดเลยมาตามมาไม่ตามมาลอดขานนี่นะว่าเดี๋ยว
enough, he received a positive reply.
ว่าที่เราว่ากวยลีแล้วเล็กที่เราเรียกว่าดอนนี่ว่าตัดสินใจเนี่ยเลยอากิลนะให้เรามึงละนะ
So, at the age of 15, Soichiro dropped out of school, left home, and headed for Tokyo in
เอาวันนี้เลยชี้ยันนี่เนี่ยว่าหาเราไปโจทย์เราว่าเลยโตเกียวละ
pursuit of his dreams.
เอาวันนี้ว่าเอาว่าตามีมันแล้วก็บอกการติกาคำมันเราว่าที่ว่าการโค่นเนี่ยแล้วนอกจากการว่าที่ว่าการโค่นเนี่ยเลยโอ้เดเปโอ้เดเสกจันเลยเราเนี่ยตาบุตรตากันแล้วก็คนนั้นเนี่ยคนนึงก็เราเนี่ยแค่ดอกมันลูกเราแค่ดอกลูกเรากัน
When Soichiro got to Tokyo, he was overwhelmed to see how fast and different city life was compared to the village he had come.
ว่าที่เลยว่าได้สุดที่ตัวเลยที่เลยจะเพลเราเลยตาแล้วคู่เวลวิลล์ชอลาแต่เราแล้วก็จัดตัวไว้ประมาณว่าตาตู้ทอที่ผ่านแล้วโดทอตาคือตาละตาเมียวแต่ดีตาเราแล้วก็จัดตัวไว้
Come from. When Soichiro arrived, the shop's owner, Yuzo Sakakibara, had a job.
when the Tama Lala Tama Lokajana Milo Yoshu Kisa Keborum now.
Already prepared for him. He
When
was
I take a thought,
to babysit the owner's child.
I come on at the lot, what you want to walk out of my lower karma, had the lot of Watama Changa, Moleta Quania Puan away.
Soichiro was disappointed to find that over the next few months, he wasn't making any money, and the only work tasks he was assigned was to carry a baby wrapped around on his back. The only thing that made him stay was the shame of returning home a failure and facing his parent.
Welcome to You Pull Our Park. We're a local family-owned auto recycler, and we hunt your old cars. And we're paying big bucks for them and handing out handfuls of cash on the spot.
Here's $100,000. Wait, I can give you this 100 grand, or I can teach you how to make this every single month. You see, this is exact.
As time went by, the owner couldn't keep up with the high demand of his automobile business, so he finally pulled Soichiro in.
Well, couple of living but Java popular one got about auto where other will have more avenue, but the Alaglan to see donor poor. Tama Logajati Jani Moa Takwa Podupa to Pil where Moa time Maratama Loma.
To help him out. Even though Soichiro started out doing menial tasks, he gradually climbed his way up until he became a trusted mechanic at the company. His talent and dedication eventually caught the attention of the owner, who decided to take little Soichiro under his wing and teach him not only mechanical repairs, but the business side of the company. As well. Although Sakakibara's repair work included both automobiles and bicycles, cars were not as popular then as they are today. Not only were automobiles a luxury that only people of the upper class could afford, but most of the automobiles around at the time were foreign made. Through his work, Soichiro quickly became familiar with a wide range of automobiles. Including Lincolns, Mercedes, Daimlers, and even various motorcycles that were brought into the workshop. Soichiro poured everything he had into expanding his knowledge and understanding of his craft. It was through this company that Soichiro was also introduced to the world of motorsports. Around this time, motorsports were quickly gaining popularity around Europe, America, and even Japan. And in 1923, Sakakibara himself poured everything he had into expanding his knowledge and understanding of his craft. It was through this company that Soichiro was also introduced to the world of motorsports. Around this time, motorsports were quickly gaining popularity around Europe, America, and even Japan. And in 1923, Sakakibara himself began to build racing cars with the help of his workers, including Soichiro. Their first model was the Art Daimler, built with a second-hand Daimler engine, and their second model was the Curtis. The Curtis was made using another second-hand engine from an American Curtis biplane. placed on the chassis of another American car, the Mitchell. This car won the Japanese Motor Car Championship in 1924, taking a stunning first position with Sakakibara's brother as driver. And Soichiro as the accompanying engineer. It was a special experience for the 17-year-old boy, and from then on, motorsports became his religion. In 1926, Soichiro was drafted for military service, but didn't pass the medical exams. As they revealed that he was colorblind. Thus, he was excused from the army. Was able to keep working at Art Shokai. By 1928, Yuzo Sakakibara wanted to expand his business and decided to open a branch of Art Shokai in Hamamatsu. He believed there was no better man to leave in charge than his young apprentice, and at the age of 21, Soichiro was called upon to run the new brand. However, Soichiro's repair shop struggled during the first year, largely because people didn't want to entrust their cars with someone so new. And so young. So Soichiro had to live off the scraps that other repair shops cast aside. Still, the young man used all the knowledge and skill he had acquired over the years, and in time, he successfully managed to grow his business. By the 1930s, his new shop had grown from a one-man operation to a staff of 30 people. The branch grew at an incredible pace during the next few years. And with so much work to be done, Soichiro had to bring his wife in to help run the company. Even though Soichiro was known as a brilliant mechanic, he was also a prodigious racing driver. And this was another skill that helped him stand out from his peers. Inside his shop, Soichiro had built the Hamamatsu race car, in which he managed to set a new speed record by driving it up to 120 kilometers per hour, a record that stood for 20 years in Japan. However, racing at the time was far more dangerous than it is today, and in June 1936, Honda was involved in a serious crash while racing the Hamamatsu in the suburbs of Tokyo, and almost died. Soichiro's left arm was fractured, his shoulder was dislocated, and his face was damaged. Despite spending a couple of months at the hospital nursing his injuries, Soichiro returned to the racetrack only 4 months later. His family, however, was unhappy with his return to racing, and after several arguments with his wife and father, Soichiro never raced again.
amada dua mopa dua la claro we the no not blow.
350,000 is exactly how much my 7 YouTube automation channels brought in. By 1936, Honda became tired and weary of his repair work. He wanted to do more and was planning to move on to manufacturing car parts. He proposed turning the Art Shokai Hamamatsu branch into a separate company for this purpose. With the shareholders of the company investors saw that the current orders and workload from the repair shop were bringing in enough profit, and they didn't want to take a gamble on a venture they believed was unnecessary. So, Soichiro decided to open his own company to manufacture piston rings. Founded the Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry. Made one of his close friends, Shichiro Kato, the president of his company. Soichiro and Kato worked tirelessly in their new venture and together started the Art Piston Ring Research Center. Soichiro, in particular, was still working at his Hamamatsu branch. Spending his days at the repair workshop and his nights developing pistons. For a long time, they struggled to make any breakthrough, and during the next couple of years, Soichiro had worked so much that he lost a lot of weight. Causing his face to look emaciated. All the stress his body and mind were going through made him look like a completely different person. And after a series of failures, Soichiro decided to enroll as a part-time student at the Hamamatsu Industrial Institute. Institute to improve his knowledge of metallurgy. It wasn't until 1939 when Soichiro would finally create a successful working piston. Confident in his design, he quit his job at Art. Shokai, handing the branch off to some of his trainees, and proceeded to work full-time at his new company. Honda began producing pistons day in and day out, but his creations were still flawed and nowhere near. The quality they needed to be. Toyota contacted Soichiro to make pistons for the company, and out of the 50 he submitted, only 3 passed Toyota's. Standard. It was a big setback for Soichiro. He didn't give up. He spent the next few years traveling around Japan, visiting steelmaking.
All steal the pan, a company the plur, look over.
Companies and universities to
Gala
improve his knowledge
university
of manufacturing
Bakala tan na
pistons.
per ba.
After gaining confidence in his knowledge and experience, Soichiro gave it another try.
Tila wa kwa wa tha me gem ha lo ra tin ya la bwa. Ke ro ti ro pistol kha ma le sen ne wa da tha pe kha ma tha phla da kha ne. Ka te ka wa kha ke ti ro la na.
The result was incredible.
Wa ke ti lo nya ru chat na la.
Not only did his new pistons pass quality control, but orders also began to come in from
Common to let that one ya get dear one ya poor. Solo what time and lawyer the lower ticala what two loda color. Till what two loda lawyer was at all or dollar around.
all over the country, so much so that the company went on to employ around 2,000 people.
When to live order button to live bang up. What time upon it to lag a key to him.
Just to catch up with the orders.
I wanted it all over Maloraba cookie one.
Things were starting to look great for Soichiro and
While when you let all Janala.
his company until
Naki ordered ta Baba company let all the top order penny. That to keep our block get on.
Japan joined the Pacific War in 1941, and Soichiro's company was placed under the direct command and control of the Ministry of Munitions.
Ako nila wag ti ka ko ne pablo Japan ne lo ta de keep our block ne lo. Pena when le ko ba ti ka ta bota li ko ne. When pa do hela ta le a company when ko ba ti klo kli ne.
Following year, Toyota took over 45% of the company's equity, and Soichiro was downgraded from president to the position of senior managing director.
Common ba ti klo kli la ra ta bota li ne. Chaw de ni la la ba le. Lo je de ba lo ko ne. Toyota ne hi we ta common ne hi we da ประเทศมาแล้วก็ว่า equity เนี่ยจีได้ภาพหมดเนาะเมื่อเราเนี่ยทศว่าเอาว่าเขามาว่าแกคำนี้คนเนี่ยว่าแกว่าเราว่าแกเลย manager หมดอะไรอย่างเงี้ย
director. Things went from bad to worse as many male employees began to resign. As
ทีเรื่องเราเดี๋ยวเขามาเนี่ยทีเรื่องที่เปลี่ยนจีเนี่ยเราก็เดี๋ยวว่าตามมาพอที่พาเดี๋ยวหาเราคุยๆแล้วมาว่าเนี่ยตอนนี้หนาดูดีแล้ว
they were drafted for military service.
ก็นี่มีอะไรว่ามาตามว่าที่พาเดี๋ยวหาเราบ้านเล็กแกแบบเดิมเนาะ
And his company began to struggle.
แล้วว่าคำนี้ดูเป็นอย่างพันไหนอย่างเงี้ย
Soichiro did everything he could to keep his company afloat.
แล้วก็เราว่าเคลสเลยก็เดี๋ยวเราที่ตาคำนี้เนี่ยแต่มาเราเนี่ยก็บุ้งก็เวก็มากินเลยนะกันนี่ก็
But he wasn't ready for what was yet to come.
มาซะนะก็ดูแต่ละเข้มมาพอทว่าตาเนี่ยว่าพวกเด็กตัวตาเนี่ยว่า
1944,
ก็ทุกคุยลุชิลุยนี่หมดเลย
air raid sirens began to intensify in Japan.
แต่ว่าเนี่ยตาทอดแต่ก็ยับปาเลยจะปาก่อน
It became very obvious that the country was headed towards defeat. Hamamatsu was in great danger.
แต่ที่ยาวได้เลยคิดเนี่ยมันเขามาจะปาก่อนเนี่ยชูมาแล้วคนเนี่ยแต่มาเรามีเลยทำมาชูเนี่ยแกว่าตาเราปลีเราเขามาเล่าว่าคอมนี่นะกันเนี่ยปัดโดเขามาตามาเล่าเนี่ยปัดโดตากเลยบัดตีว่าลูกลีคนมาเนาะ
And Soichiro's company was struck by a direct bomb blast.
คนเนี่ยตาคือวันเนี่ยคนเราเลยคิดเนี่ยแต่ละอเมริกาตรงนี้ตากเราได้พองละอะคอมนี่นะมันเนาะแต่ตัวเราได้พงละว่าตามาเล่านะมันเนาะ
Destroying the factory.
เนี่ยมาหากว่าได้ตามาเล่าเนี่ย
The company would go on to suffer a second misfortune in
เดี๋ยววันเนี่ยตาบ้านดูพัดชายอะคนวันเนี่ย
January 1945, when the Nankai earthquake shook the region.
คนเนี่ยเลยคิดว่าเขาก็โหเราได้ว่าเดี๋ยวได้ตามาเล่าได้เราปวดจ่อจีละ
And the Iwanta plant collapsed. Japan eventually surrendered in August 1945.
แต่เล็กที่ได้ไปทคุยจากคุยลุชิเย่ละตัดดูว่าเดี๋ยววิลาเนี่ยว่าจะปานเนี่ยว่าที่ข้าคือว่ามันเนาะ
But by then, Soichiro had nearly lost everything.
เดี๋ยวตัวเล็กตัดดูวิลาเดี๋ยวปว่าคำนี้นะเรามาเลยอย่างนั้น
After the war, Soichiro decided to sell what was left of his company to
คนเนี่ยเราตัวเล็กตัดดูวิลาเดี๋ยวคำนี้ตาว่าเตะตาปวดตาเราถักคอเรนนะมาได้บ้านเลยนะคนเนี่ยตัวเราชอบว่าชาเนี่ยก็โตโยต้าเนี่ย
Toyota for a sum of 450,000 yen.
วันนี้เลยลุยกันหลายเยอะก็โทรมาเนาะเอาว่าได้ยิงมาเนาะเดี๋ยวได้ชาเนี่ยก็โตโยต้าเนี่ยตาโดนมีแล้วก็ถักกีตาคอเลยคำนี้ว่าที่นั่นเนี่ยชาก็ชูบ่า
And publicly told everyone that he was going to take some time off to figure out what the future would hold.
คนเนี่ยว่าเดี๋ยวได้บางอย่างก็บุยต้องจะโจบไอ้ขี้มาเราอยู่ก็ชั่วโมงก็ได้ก็มาก็ได้มาเลย
as Japan was left in ruins.
Hyundai Tucson versus Honda CR-V. Hyundai Tucson wins every.
A year after the war, the country experienced an economic meltdown that threatened the lives of its citizens. There was a shortage of food, clothing, and shelter. And resources were rationed. As a result, Soichiro couldn't even find enough gas to drive his car to the market. And buy food for his family. One day, Soichiro came across a generator engine that belonged to the Japanese. Imperial Army, which was used during the war to power up a wireless radio. He was fascinated with the engine. And after figuring out how it worked, a bright idea came to him. What would happen if he attached this engine to a bicycle? By no means was this a new invention. The practice of clipping a motor onto a bike was common in Europe, and a few of these had even made their way to Japan. But Soichiro knew the country was in desperate need of cheap transportation. And so, in 1946, Soichiro used his old warehouse to establish the Honda Technical Research. Institute for the sole purpose of figuring out a way to make motorbikes. There, he and a staff of 12 men followed through with his idea. Successfully managed to put together a motorbike using some engines he found, along with others. Spare parts. These new bicycles instantly became a hit, and orders began to come in. Different parts of the country. But soon enough, Soichiro was running out of used engines, so he decided to design and develop one of his own. In 1947, he finished the Type A engine. And for the very first time, the Honda name was emblazoned on a machine.
The Honda Motor Company
Soichiro founded the Honda Motor Company in 1948. With the initial goal of building motorcycles to help get Japanese workers around. The only problem was Soichiro needed more money to expand his production. So he wrote an open letter to all 18,000 bicycle shop owners in Japan.
80,000 ก็มาแต่กละขวกโตเอาไว้บักขันเลยลี่ยอคอมนี่ก็พลัดเด่นเอาไว้กวดลี่แล้ว
and telling them that he had thought of a solution to get Japan moving again.
เอาไว้เนี่ยแต่ว่าเราตาที่ว่าตัดสินใจคาเลยญี่ปุ่นเนี่ยคัดชุยเนี่ยก็เล่ท่อนะว่า
Out of the 18,000 stores he wrote, he received positive.
อ่ะก็เนี่ยเด็กก็โทรขวกยาแต่ก็ลาขวกโทรก็ว่าเส้นเนี่ยพลัดเปลี่ยนเนี่ยว่าโดนเนี่ยว่าได้สินละมึงนะพลัดแต่ก็โทรอยู่นะ
responses from 3,000 of them, and they provided him with the money he needed to start making his first shipments. A year later, the company produced its very first complete motorcycle. The Model D.
I want to call it Model D.
Even though the Model D was a big achievement for Honda, it was too big and heavy. And because of this, only a few people bought the motorcycle. Soichiro wasn't satisfied with this, so we stripped down the motorbike and worked long hours to make another bike that was smaller and lighter. After 3 years of trial and error, he succeeded in building another motorcycle. And named it the Super Cub. The Super Cub was an instant hit and became so successful that it won the Emperor's Prize. Honda also joined efforts with investor Takio Fujisawa. Who provided the capital he needed as well as financial and marketing strategies. This partnership became the foundation upon which the Honda Motor Company was built on. The Super Cub reached the United States in 1958. With a sticker price of just $295, which was a quarter of the price of what other American motorcycles. Cost. And thanks to the company's marketing and engineering skills, it soon outsold both Triumph and Harley-Davidson in their respective home markets. But by then, Soichiro had also expanded his motorcycle brand into the racing world. Racing at the time was more than a sport. It was the biggest platform for these manufacturers companies to showcase their cars and motorbikes to the rest of the world. So he traveled all over the world to see the races, studying and examining all the motorcycles of his competitors. In fact, throughout his career on the track, whenever a benchmark was set by one of his competitors, Honda would take this information home and strive to surpass it.
come on qua lu qua đuổi tới phát này ta gửi đó là cái chỗ đó là cái cha có không mà cái mà lu vào đâu đó.
It was this attitude that took Honda motorcycles from an awful and disappointing finish at their first international race in 1954.
Không lu ta cái vào con này lên come on này, ở đây come on này lên thôi cứ giờ chỉ tới này là disappointed finish in the first international race in 1954 mà nó come on này cái vào ta tu vào ta vào khai là cái term mà come on lên thôi cứ giờ chỉ lui này, ở đây này come on là tới đó nó plan này đến này mà ở đây.
To the manufacturer's team prize at the 1959 Isle of Man TT, the biggest motorcycle race in the world. 2 years later, Honda would win again at the Isle of Man TT and hit.
Vậy thì làm con không mà Honda này vẫn nửa đó mà vậy phải là bạn suy đoán là khi này tên này ta plan này vẫn nửa đó vậy thì cái Honda nó có vậy TT cái này mà nó.
Success on the racetrack put the Honda name on the map.
Vậy thì là vậy thì lo đi không mà hết cái thôi cứ giờ cứ chỉ này vậy Honda mà đã tin nhà lo rồi đó bị làm mà cái là.
In the 1960s, Honda had become the biggest motorcycle company in the world.
Vậy mà cái là second này họ cái đó bên mình doctor và lên lùa được nó cái. Không mà lên ta nó premier cái lên cái mà nó.
After the release of the Honda Dream in 1949, they had produced a total of 10 million.
When Honda Dream này when they were we learn to đó là có quay được chi mà.
Motorcycles by 1968. However, becoming the biggest motorcycle company wasn't enough for Sochi.
Come on, baka le motorcycle, baka le second, how can that be? Come on, bala can wala Honda second at all. Come ni lega and shoe lega. Come on, there top no all the top of the. Nagin lagon at Ariba.
There was another big dream he'd been chasing since he was 8 years old.
Nageta lotil color, not chicala chilu and a cow color. Come on, what did a Honda, the table like a child and get a load of Hokla Dobini, what two lolly on it. Tala chomo at the car in the Kama.
And it was none other than entering the car making industry.
I want to baka le car, but the car in a way that knew what was happening.
And when you sell us your car, if it won't go, we'll tell. I want to get your junk on my bed.
Monza.com makes scams great again. No, you know what? I'm not going to say again because I never were. And
when Soichiro announced he was going into the automobile market, many people warned him that it was too risky for the company and that he was better off just making motorcycles.
Này bắt đầu lúc cái tí cá được không mà bắt đầu nấu à mà cái ta lọp đi lo nó bắt đầu không mà bắt đầu mà để sẽ cái khăn cái đi.
Around this time, Japan had Nissan, Toyota, and a few other.
Không mà bên cái này Japan này cao, lúc khăn này mà Toyota mình Nissan mình lúc khăn này mà Japan con mà tí cao lúc khăn.
Companies who were competing in the tough world of the automobile market. And Japanese officials tried to convince Soichiro that the country didn't need another car.
Ba chung một tí đó cá là to rồi cá ở bên khăn này ali nào mà bắt đầu này này teo bữa nay bắt đầu ba cá là to rồi ba cá không cá ở bên này bali.
Manufacturer, but Soichiro didn't listen to their.
And again, so you know Chosido ne kana wala bắt đầu ba.
Arguments. Honda debuted its first automobile in 1963.
When the talk Honda car called Honda debut.
With the release of the T360.
Our T360 mini truck,
Mini truck, a small but reliable pickup truck. Unfortunately, the mini truck never gained much traction. And it was soon followed with the company's first ever sports car. The S500. This S500 was a two-door roadster with a 4-speed transmission. Capable of reaching 80 miles per hour. It was a smaller car, but it was smooth and easy to drive. But sadly, only around 1,300 cars of this model were built.
Making it one
of the rarest Honda cars ever made. But just like Soichiro did with his motorcycles, Honda brought its cars into the racing world. The Honda RA271 made its Formula One debut at the 1964 Belgian Grand Prix. It only took 1 year for Honda to achieve a first-place victory at the 1965 Mexican Grand Prix. With their new successor, the RA272. But despite its early success in the racetrack, Honda was nowhere near beating its competitors in the car market. So they took a break from racing and turned their attention to building one of the most successful cars in the automobile market, the Honda Civic. Honda debuted their new model in 1972, and in the following years, it became one of the most popular cars in the world. One of the reasons for its success, especially in the European and American markets, was due to the oil crisis of the 1970s. During this period, shortages of fuel spread all over the world. And to tackle this, Soichiro devised a brand new method for fuel management. Called the compound vortex control combustion controlled combustion, or CVCC for short. This allowed people to travel further distances with their car without burning too much fuel. The Honda Civic also tackled the pollution problem caused by exhaust. Exhaust gases by adding a catalytic converter to catalytic converter. Catalytic converter its vehicles, something that other big automakers didn't consider as much at the time. And just like that, Honda was rapidly becoming popular in the automobile market. Even though Americans might have bought the Civic out of necessity, it was the Honda Accord that really changed the game. Initially, the Honda Accord debuted as a compact hatchback, but it later expanded to sedans. This new model contained the same fuel-efficient feature as the Civic, but with a better moderate size. And thanks to their wider interior space and comfort, the Honda Accord would later become one of the best-selling sedans in the automotive history. At the beginning of the 80s, Honda Motor Company was the third largest producer cars in Japan. And by the end of the decade, It was the third biggest car company.
Lucky lone kera wara how many the plala dog tell off the dobby in therm on when no therm Honda.
On the planet. Soichiro Honda retired from the company.
I want a Sochido, ne? Well, the Toku Yanuchi turn a Chaubu, Tapua.
In 1973, and later died on the 5th of August.
I want a lucky Chosido Honda and a Tirabe. I got yet out of Tokuya Kuchitan, Mono, but did not Karaen.
1991. Looking back on my work, I feel that I was doing nothing more than mistakes, blunders, and
upon a quagga Tarbitamari, Loda, that two water nomia, let them Madagama the Panamano. What I got that Tanada, whatever.
serious omissions. But I am proud of the achievements.
Navasana Kiro, that Park Padatadoma, Taletama near the Panamano.
Although I did one mistake after another, my mistakes and failures never occurred for this.
Upon tam Male Pane, Amone, the bit of Kako, Mona, the Marala Tora, Tinya Latona. Make a Mamasana Kini, Mikalo and again, give that Kalatola, now what Tinya, I thought Tinya, our quick women, come on, failure, but not the same mistake, come on, reach an old Latom.
Same reasons. Honda has now expanded into multiple industries, including jets.
Bakala Honda Sen, Tatu Loklabe, Salaka boy, you can Honda 19 boy, you tailor, tailor, you tau
engines, power equipment, and
that to that party where was the no claw no I'm dialer, but to that what they would say you robot
robots, to name a few. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe and